Well, again, it is so great to be here with you, Kelsey. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for doing this, Alexa. I'm already having a blast.
Me too. We were literally talking before this, guys. So we should probably record. We finally have started talking about human design and all the things, but to get everybody else up, I love to start with, who you are now, how you introduce yourself, and then get into how you got there. I know it's a very windy journey, but just in whatever format and whatever detail you want to get into.
That's such a hard question. As
I know.
we'll get into, I'm a manifesting generator. So labels, this is tricky.
I know. I know.
I know it helps people understand. So here's what I'll share. I'm a certified professional coach. I'm a human design guide. I'm also certified in feng shui. I'm a former marine biologist. I'm a triathlete who races for Team USA. I'm a dog mom, and I'm a nature lover who loves playing in the kitchen.
So many things.
I
I
am
love
all the things.
I love that. I'm a manifesting generator too, as you now know. So I'm very excited for all places we'll go. And how do you how did you get to this kind of point in
Mhm.
the world? Like how did you get here?
So I started out, I in college I studied psychology and art history, and then I minored in biology. And it was actually, I call it a minor and a half because to have a neuroscience major, you had to take organic chem and some other chemistry class, and I didn't want to take those. So I had the neuroscience major without those two classes. And then I went on to get my master's in marine biology, and I studied killer whales. I had done some dolphin research and coral reef
I
fish
love
research
that.
before that.
I'm obsessed with
Yeah.
that.
This you get to see, the listeners won't get to see. Those are some of that's actually one whale, one killer whale. And it was a mistake. My printer, I tried to print it out in black and white, and it came in three different colors. So
But
that
that's
is
not a
day
mistake. That's like
one.
an art piece. Oh, that's
hmm
amazing.
So yeah, I studied killer whales.
Yeah.
Then I
And
went
like
on.
what leads you into all this? Like, what is the interest or curiosity point for you, like in psychology and neuroscience and like killer whales and all of that?
Curiosity.
Yeah.
I find people and animals fascinating. Like I later learned people who are into astrology say it's a Sagittarius thing. I'm Sagittarius rising. I'm like, oh, everybody isn't fascinated by humans. Like I'm fascinated by like, oh, you did that thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Why would
Yeah.
you do such a thing? That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
Like
that.
even like people who want to climb Everest, I'm like, that's fascinating.
Hmm.
That is so cool. I love that you want to do that. I don't want to do that, but I love what
Right.
you do.
My friend and I talking about Schitt's Creek yesterday and Alexis Rose. Like, I love that for you. Like, love that for you. Not for me, but like you go do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you're
Yeah.
studying all this stuff, neuroscience, the killer whales.
hmm
And like, are you studying like the neuroscience of animals? Like, what are you sort of studying in marine biology?
I was studying ecology basically, like how all the kind of the story of it all, how everything puts together fits together and like conservation aspects. So these killer whales, the southern residents, they're the ones that live off Washington State, like in Puget Sound mostly. There were a bunch of them called peanut heads, and they were called that because they had this dent behind their blowhole, and it was from malnourishment. So it was like, why are these guys malnourished and what's happening to them? And what's happening, it was the salmon, they eat salmon. Salmon stocks were low. Then as they get malnourished, they pull toxins out of their blubber. So they were washing ashore as toxic waste. So there,
Wow.
it's just one sign of like, oh, humans, what are we doing?
Yeah, absolutely. And I like, as you were talking, I was like saying to myself, like, I understand what she's saying. Like, you explain that. Like, I think you mentioned the idea of this story. And I get older and like get really curious what my friends do. People say, like, I'm an analyst, I'm a this, I'm a that. I'm like, what do you actually do? And you just explain that in a way where, like, I feel like people who have no idea what this field is, like, get that. It's like you eat this, and they don't eat, and the toxins, and they're washing up, and it's toxic waste. So
Mhm.
thank you for that.
You're welcome. Well, then I went on to become a science writer. So that's kind of what I do is I take the stuff that people write
Oh,
in nonsense and I'm like, oh, actually, you guys, this is really cool. Let me tell you about it.
love that. And it helps because you like know what they're talking about because you like
I
have
get it.
masters. Yeah. So you can
And I'm
translate
like,
it.
you guys, you need to understand this. I always wrote as a science writer and as a science blogger, I wrote for my childhood, like second mom. I wrote for Judy Cahill. And she, at one point in my childhood, or not even my childhood, probably like as a teenager, I told her something sciencey, and she was so excited to learn this thing. And then so it always became like I don't know if she ever read anything I wrote, but I was always thinking of her and how excited she got about learning the thing when I wrote, like, I want people just to get excited about learning these things.
I love that. And I love the idea of like writing for one person, which I feel like is really common writing advice of like just that one reaction and that like that passionate response is so
Mhm.
good. I love that.
Because we all want all the attention. But what I don't know about you, but what I really want is when I get the one email that's like, because of you,
Yeah.
I just blah, blah, blah. I heard from one person, I think this was a couple years ago. She was like, because of you and your story of, I think it was how I quit my job with the federal government.
Yeah.
She was like, just turned down a huge promotion. And I'm so happy about it. It's
Oh,
not like the praise you expect to get because
yeah.
you want to
No, I
hear like
love.
because of you, I just made $1 million. No, because of you, I'm really happy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do in this world.
Yeah, like the impact and like the way in which your story helps someone else create their own, not like you did this, so I did it too. I love
Exactly.
that. So speaking of quitting, you're like science writing, you have this master's, you're doing your thing, and then what happens next?
So actually, back up the order, finish my
Okay,
master's,
gotcha.
went and worked for the federal government as a marine biologist, a fishery scientist. I was in a cube. I was writing what I called governmentese, which I would just laugh at, like, this says nothing. Like, I just wrote 2 pages that say nothing, and it drove me crazy. And excuse me, about a year into it, there was a the way the government works. I started out as a contractor, and I could basically apply to have my job, not as a contractor. It would like quadruple my pay. So this is what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to apply for this. I got it. And that was at the same moment that I had the job, had some time to think about it. Then I was exploring Myers-Briggs types. And I had this moment when we're sitting around the conference table, my little protected resources division. I looked at everyone else who I knew really well. Like we all worked really closely together. I was like, they love this. Oh, I can leave. It's okay. I'm not like leaving them with a horrible job. They love what they're doing. I'm the one that feels like I'm in prison. So I get to leave. So I was offered this big promotion and I said, thanks, I'm out. And I had no plan.
Yeah.
And then I actually had this magical moment. So my, what got me to that federal government job,
Mhm.
my husband had, not husband at the time, boyfriend at the time, had accepted a job in Oregon. They had promised a job for me. That didn't pan out. I was teaching swim lessons out there and doing some freelance work. Got offered this job in Washington, D.C., took it, but we were splitting our time between D.C. and Oregon. Then we both quit our jobs, moved to Maine, got married, and we get this little local newspaper that's free that comes to every house. And it said something about this documentary studies program at the
Mm.
Salk Institute. We're like that. We called them up. Their next like semester was starting. I think it was the next day.
Yeah.
And then they were like, married people can't be in the same cohort. And yet we're gonna make an exception for you. And
Wow.
and my husband was Canadian. He still is Canadian, but now he has dual citizenship. He's like, they're like, because you're Canadian, you like can't take the full course or something. But basically, they just broke all the rules for us.
Wow.
And we studied documentary writing, which is nonfiction writing,
Yeah.
and science writing came next.
Wow. I love that. Like, I feel like when we sometimes like in your writing, sometimes you want something and you like declare you want it and it comes, and sometimes you just stay open and the universe is like, here's this thing that like
Hmm.
I never would have asked for, but worked out so well.
And
And so
that's something in our human design.
yeah,
What some people know exactly what they want. Some people, like me, are never going to know exactly.
right.
And so the universe always surprises and delights us.
Yeah. And we'll definitely get into like defining it. People don't know what human design is. Do not worry, guys.
No,
But
we're good there.
going back to I feel like this one question takes the whole thing. So I'm like, I have more questions in the questions. Like when you're at the government job and you describe it now, like I'm in a cube, I'm writing the same thing over and over. But it seems like the real turning point and the real moment of like deep reflection happened in this transition moment of the promotion or like the next job. But was there anywhere in the time period where you were just like going to work every day, like was there anything gnawing in you thinking about like what am I doing here, or was it like I'm just okay, yeah, yeah, you're nodding,
No, I hated it.
yeah,
I used to get up. I got up super early to take this spin class with a spin instructor that I loved. His name was Carlton. And then I would, right after work, I'd go for a long walk on this trail and go to swim practice. And it was like I needed to, or I'd go to the gym. I would just like, I needed to bookend my days with things I liked. I was trying desperately to take every meeting outside. Like, let's make it a walking meeting. I felt like such a round peg in the square hole trying to wear like work clothes. I was like, this is not me. I'm not here for button downs and like even these pants. This the whole thing. It's not me. I just felt I was like, is this real? Is this really what humans do? And I realized like part of me, I was that epiphany that other people liked it was for me, I think there was a part of me that was staying because well, I'd pitch in, no one liked it. So we could all like pull our weight. Maybe I could last like go a year and save a bunch of money or something like that. And then when I realized they liked it, I was like, oh, I don't have to do it for them. I'm getting out of here.
yeah, yeah, because I think sometimes we have such a singular experience. I so relate to that. Like, and we're like, oh, everyone hates it. Like, we're all trudging along. It's fine. It's fine. And it's so interesting though that once you realize like they are so passionate and happy, it was like a little bit of like a oh, like I could have that too, but not here.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
I'm not an indoor cat. I'm made to be outside.
Yeah, literally. I remember when I had my first temp job, like working in a real office with a kitchen, a coffee machine. And it was like very fun and cute for a week. Like I was like, oh my God, I'm
Mhm.
like working girl Barbie. And then the next Monday rolled around and I was like, is this it? Like people have been here for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? So I know that feeling very, very well. Okay,
That
so
was another piece of it is I noticed that other people would take like I'd like check in on my friends. I'm like, oh, you're still working. Huh. I already finished that. Like, and now I understand human design. I know manifesting generators move quickly. So
yeah,
I was running out of things to do.
you're bored.
I
So,
was so bored. This is pre-Facebook. Like, or
ooh,
Facebook existed,
but
but I
not
thought
like
it
as
was
active.
sketchy.
Yeah, probably was.
I was like, that's weird. I'm not gonna do that. So like, what am I doing all day? Like,
Yeah, like
I
literally.
I was emailing people
Oof,
and like friends. That's
wow.
what being like, what are you doing? I'm not doing anything here. Are you doing anything there?
What a time. It's so interesting when you meet people like later on in their lives when they're living as their authentic selves and you hear about like the way they used to live and you're just like, I can barely picture. I don't need for like whatever. I can barely picture that for you. It's like such a 180. And so
It's such, yeah. Go
you leave
ahead.
that job, you move to Maine, you do the nonfiction documentary course, and then you start doing science writing.
I do science writing, and then I'm also coaching swimming
Okay.
and personal training and teaching like core classes, which all like that's actually like a funny story too, but
Yeah.
the universe bringing me stuff. So I went to the pool like shortly after we moved there, and I'm like, do you need a coach? I'd been competitive swimming my whole life. And they're like, yes. I'm like, sweet, free Y membership. All right. That's basically why I did it.
Love it.
And then one day I asked, why are the 12-year-old girls not doing flip turns? And the coach was like, oh, because their cores aren't strong enough. That was not true. But I'm like, oh, I can teach a core class to them. So I agreed to teach this core class, which it was basically like for middle school girls. It was so fun. Loved that. I kept that going for like 8 years or something. But then the head of the wellness department is like, hey, can you cover my core class for me that she taught twice a day? Sure, sure. Then that becomes my core class. Then she's like, actually, can you cover spinning too? And this. So I was teaching something like 9 classes a week, plus some at a yoga studio as well. That and the science writing. I needed to be doing both because I'm a manifesting generator and I need to be doing all the things at the same time. Um, but then, okay, so back to science writing. I don't remember what year this was, maybe 2014, 13, around then. I got, I heard from two of the big name like science writing outlets and got offers for these like full-time contracts. Like I would get to do what I was doing and actually get paid like consistently.
Wha-
And this was amazing. And
Yeah.
then 2 weeks later, back to back, they both reach out and say, I'm so sorry. All of our funding just got cut. The
Whoa.
next day, I'm on Facebook and I see a post from someone who, interestingly enough, had gone to the same marine biology graduate program I had gone to, and I had talked to her about that. And she posted, like, I'm finishing up my life coaching certification. I like need to give free sessions or something like that. And I reached out to her. It did not occur to me to ask her for a session, which I find really interesting. But I was like, Becca, what is life coaching? She told me all the things, told me the program she went to. I called up the people the next day, was enrolled the day after that. And this gets even cooler because when I was in college studying psychology, I decided senior year, this is not like, I'm not going to take this further because I don't like talking to people about what's wrong with them. This doesn't feel right. Then 15 years later, or a little less than that, I learned about coaching, which is essentially positive psychology, which was just starting when I was in college, but wasn't to me yet. And it's taking you from your good present to your awesome future. I'm like, this is what I'm here for. So that was the big pivot of the universe, just like, it totally handed me everything. Nope, nope, you've done great with science writing, kiddo. Now
Yeah.
let's move on.
It's literally, I feel like there's this misconception that people pivot like when they've like been at like lows or valleys and failed, but like I feel like it's almost harder sometimes when you're successfully at something. Like, why would I leave this? Why would I leave that? But sometimes like it's just done. And I feel like there are some careers and some people, even when you get to a certain peak, you're like, and I'm here and I'm doing it and I feel good about it. But then for others, it's like, but I've done this thing and there's nowhere else that I want to go with this or nowhere to go. So I'm gonna like slide over to another mountain in a way.
There's
Yeah.
also there's a bit that I learned in school,
Mhm.
thanks to history class.
Yeah.
I was never very interested in history,
Mhm.
but I kept doing really well in it. And I would surprise myself. I never knew the dates or anything. So in class, I thought I was the stupidest person there. And then we'd get back our exams and I'd be like, the teacher would like write this really nice note to me about like how amazing I'd done. And I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
interesting. But it does, people would be like, so are you going to go on and do something with history? And I was like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not into it. So
Yeah.
like, I'm really grateful that as a teenager, I learned you can be just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to do it.
Oh, and what if we all learned that like at 16 and not 40?
Hmm.
The idea
And
that we
as
have,
I say it, I'm like, oh, and I did get that lesson earlier too, because it would have been very convenient. My dad and my grandfather really had high hopes for golf for me.
oh,
It's not my thing. It's
yeah,
not my thing at all. I like to go fast. And yeah, they were like, but you're really good. I mean, I don't know how you tell like a 6-year-old that they're really good at golf, but apparently, I had
I love
promise
it. You are
with
really
golf.
good. I love it.
And but I don't like it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so like, once I think I was still young enough to let liking something or not liking it guide me.
Yeah.
It's when we're, I think, in our teens that we get all messed up on that.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I
because it's
think it
not
doesn't
cool. And if
matter.
this person's not doing it, then we're not going to do it.
Mhm.
And
And if
yeah,
we're not good at it, then we're not going to do it. And if we're good at it, but we don't like it, well, we just suck it up.
yeah. And that ripples and ripples and ripples.
Hmm.
Huh. So you have the session, you go for your coaching school. Where did you go, by the way?
IPEC, Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching.
Nice. I had a similar like right away coaching church. I was wondering if it was the same one by any chance.
Where'd you go?
Like Purpose Institute, LPI.
Ooh, I haven't heard of that one yet.
Yeah. Um, so you go to coaching school, you become a certified coach,
Became a
and
certified coach. Then I added like, well, there's a few places to take this story now.
hey,
Let's
who's your
take
friend
it
about?
to I started hanging out with a bunch of people who were intuitive
I
and
remember. Yes, yes.
who pulled tarot cards and stuff like that. And I went to this weekly tarot card thing. And every time I got my reading, I was like, cool, I already knew that. And every time she'd say, Kelsey, that's because you can do this. And I was like, uh-huh.
Hmm.
I don't really know what you mean. And then I had like super intuitive friends say, like, you're the most intuitive person I know.
Hmm.
So I was just starting to, like, that took me a long time to start to believe.
Okay.
And then when I discovered human design, which happened in 2018,
Okay.
I like just started to truly accept it and learned that my biggest gift is being super intuitive.
Yeah. And how did you find human design?
So I had a podcast. I started the Find Your Awesome podcast in 2017.
Okay. And this is while you're coaching or pre-coaching?
No,
Okay.
this is while I'm coaching. So I started coaching in like 2014, I think.
Okay. So you went to school and then immediately made your business and went into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I wasn't planning on, by the way. I finished school and people were like, so your business. And I was like, sorry, what? Like, didn't know I was starting a business.
Yeah.
Um, but then so started the coaching business, then started the podcast. One of my guests said to me, have you heard of human design? And
Mm.
I was like, I remember like in doing the interview on Zoom. So like I remember seeing myself cock my head and be like, what?
Yeah.
And I said, like anatomy? And she was like, no, you need to know your birth time. That's literally all she told me.
Wow.
And so we finished recording and I went to Google and I Googled human design birth time or something like that. I
Yeah.
found a chart generator, pulled up my chart, was like, what is this?
Uh,
And the only like phrase that meant anything to me was manifesting generator. So I would very slowly Google the phrase manifesting generator. And like, I think it took me a week to come across the phrase manifesting generators are warrior Buddhas. And I was like,
ooh.
oh, like I felt that in my soul.
Yeah. What did that mean to you?
It meant like we're wise, we're powerful, we are the ones that can sit still and move constantly. What does it mean to you as a manifesting generator?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, the warrior Buddha. So I think I don't know why I think about, and I know there's like big Buddha statues and all of that, but I think of Buddhas as like a little bit smaller. And like, so I
Mhm.
think about the idea of like soft and strong and also like not underestimating people.
Yep.
Like there's this John Mayer song and him as a person, questionable music I love, called Bigger Than My Body. And I remember discovering that in middle school and being like, yes, I am bigger than my body gives you credit for. Like,
Mhm.
and one of my friends actually told me recently, like, I feel like no one ever told you that you were short. So you just don't like have that. And I was like, no one did. So I'm not that short. And they were like, I mean, you're not that short, but like you're not tall. And I was like, but I'm not that short either. And so I think about like the way you carry yourself. That came for me.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love that perspective so much. Yeah, this is what's so
What?
fun about these phrases is they resonate with all of us, but in a different way.
And it gives you like a language. It's kind of just
Mhm.
like, and I want to go into like what human design is and like all that juiciness. But like what I love about every single like turn of your story, and like I just why part of why I love manifest generators, but I already knew about this for myself, is that I love people with windy journeys. Like I want to see a story and I'm like, how the hell did you get from here to here?
Mhm.
And I just feel like so much of your story is like going where the universe sent you and carried you. And I feel like what I see a lot with people, my clients, like people are often so scared to make big changes because they're like not qualified to do so, or like, I can't just go do this. But like, there's such a empowerment and like real authority that you took, and like, oh, I want to do this. I'm going to do it. And here's this thing, I'll figure it out. It's not like, I immediately knew this and I went into that and I studied for 15 years. It's like you really like dove in this way and like created this life that just made sense for you.
Yeah. Yeah. You said it beautifully. I have nothing to add. That was perfect.
I'm glad. So, human design, I feel like it's a great part in your story. And I know the next kind of part of the story is that you start integrating human design into your coaching work and like
Mhm.
writing about it. And that kind of takes us a little bit into the now a bit.
Yep.
So, what is human design for someone like you who like in the early part of your journey is like, I don't know what that is. I've never heard those words. Like, what's going on?
So human design, I where do I start? I'm just gonna, the way I explain it is your little baby soul got a call to Earth School and he is stoked. And it's like, oh, I know exactly what you're here to do and how you're here to do it and who you're here to be. So now let me figure out the gifts that you're gonna need in order to do that, in order to flow through life the way you're designed to do it. And then I'm gonna find the exact date, time, and place for you to enter Earth School to seal the deal on that. So basically, they sprinkle your soul sprinkles all these gifts in this blueprint for you. Then that blueprint like is sealed on your birthday. And then you come into the world. You know it all on day one, you know it all. You know exactly who you are. Day two, you start forgetting it all. And then all these very loving people start telling you how to do life. And that's conditioning. Those are all the beliefs that we come up with on top of that. That's our job as coaches to help people be like, how true is that? Like, let's clear
Yeah.
that out of there.
Literally, my favorite question as a coach is like, is that true? And people are
Mhm.
like, I know this is so true. I'm like, but how do you know? Like, I'm not even messing with you. I literally would like you to just tell me. And then 5 minutes later, they're like, actually, it's not true. And I'm like, okay,
Yes,
cool, great.
yes. Now we
And
can move
it's like
on.
a little bit of a naive question, but like, why do we forget? Like, is it the conditioning that makes us forget? Or is it like I don't know. Yeah. What's your take on that?
Because we signed up for the adventure.
Ooh, okay.
Because we signed up for the rediscovery. And some people are born to parents who know human design, who right away are looking up their baby's chart and they're
Okay.
like, okay, this is how I'll parent you. But then also there's pieces of the chart that really don't matter much until the kid's 18.
Yeah. So we're kind of meant to forget in some ways.
And then rediscover it.
Okay. So the
And
reason.
like kind of try, it's like we want to try being fully human, like being
Mm,
clueless right off the bat. Like, let's see where they guide me. Let's see how this works out. And then we're like, oh, oh, wait, I get to do it this way? Is that legal? Am I, what?
is that
Okay.
legal? I love that. I love that. Yeah. I love it. And so you have your birth time, similar to astrology girlies, like with the rising, moon, sun, all of that. And I guess, yeah, how does human design like kind of connect to astrology? Does that feel like closely related to you?
Yeah, so human design is a combination of astrology, the chakra system, the Kabbalah tree of life, and the I Ching. So
Okay.
it weaves all of those in together. So yeah, that's why your birth time matters. And your birthplace matters only to get the time zone that you were born in.
Okay. Gotcha. Wait, what's your sign also? I should
I'm a
know.
Libra, Libra sun, Sag rising, Aquarius moon.
Love it. I love it. I'm
What about
Pisces.
you?
Pisces sun, Scorpio moon, and Capricorn rising. So the full moon,
Ooh.
very good for me last night.
So I've got no Capricorn in my chart.
Oh, interesting.
Mhm.
Interesting. I wouldn't have guessed that. Uh,
Yeah, and also actually this full moon has been awesome. So
yeah.
it's an interesting piece, I think, because Pluto's with it, and Pluto and my sun travel together.
Hmm.
Because I've been investigating astrocartography because we want to move. And I had people always say, you don't want to be where on your Pluto line. And then I had an astrocartographer tell me, if you're going to be with your sun, you're going to be with your Pluto.
Okay. Fair.
And I realized that that's kind of the whole like burn it all down gets me so excited. I love it. Like,
Uh,
oh, let's get rid of all of this and start brand new.
yeah. I so love that as well. Like the fresh start energy of things,
Hmm.
like keeping the core of who you are, but like all these different things. And
For me,
speak,
it always feels like just finding like a deeper level of, oh, I get to do it this way. Wait, I'd be even more aligned if I do this.
yeah. And I think that the word alignment too, like there's that fear where people think I'm being taken from my current reality. I don't want to do this. But then it's like on the other side, it's going to feel better. But first, it's let go of that thing that you think you need. And that's like the
Mhm.
hardest thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
is there like not a way to circumvent that, but like, I don't know, a way to like help people in that transition? Or is it just kind of like taking that big brave leap?
I think it depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Sometimes it helps to remember you gotta give up the good to go for the great.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta trust like a mofo. And sometimes it's how good is that thing really? Like, do
Mm.
you really love it or is it just really comfortable?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
So
does it
like
really
real.
truly set your soul on fire? Are you so madly in love with it? Or, and let's just talk about like a t-shirt or something.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't want to give this up. Is it because you love it so much? Does it look so good on you? Does it feel so good on your skin? No, you're just afraid that you won't find something else that looks that good on you. Well, then it's gotta go.
Yeah. Cause I feel like a really common like argument is like, what if I don't find something as good as this? What if this is all there is?
And holy scarcity mindset, right? There is so
Yeah.
much. There is so much that goodness that we'll never even discover. We just don't have enough time in these human bodies.
Exactly. Because the other side of like, what if this is all there is what if this is all there is? Like when you get to that success point, like the inflection point, and you're like, Glennon Doyle would say, wasn't this all supposed to be more beautiful than this? Like, I thought it was gonna be better than this. And I got here, and there's that struggle of like when everyone thinks you're successful, but you're like, I'm not feeling the way that you think I'm feeling. And that
Hmm.
disconnect comes.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So I always ask this so late, but I feel like we circle around authenticity in so many different ways. But to ask it directly, what does in this moment authenticity mean to you?
It means living in alignment with my soul blueprint. And human design is it's called your human design experiment.
Mhm.
And it's said to take 7 years. I'm 6 years into my human design experiment, I can't imagine that I'm gonna like get there wherever there is in another year.
Hmm.
So that'll be interesting. I think then you're just totally committed to the process of like,
Yeah, is the experiment like 60 or 70 years from when you find out about it? Is that how it works?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
when you find out and you really start trying to live it,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
make some decisions on like, wait, just using like your strategy and authority, for instance, does this thing light me up? Am I
Yeah.
here for this?
Yeah. And then we bring intuition into it, which you mentioned in your story a lot
Hmm.
about being to with people and being like, I know all this already. And you say, somewhere in my research, your website, Substack, somewhere I found this quote that my life's work is to learn how to listen to my intuition, help my people learn to listen to their intuition. And so, what's the link between authenticity and intuition?
We have all the answers.
Hmm.
You have all the answers for you, and I have all the answers for me.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a little place to explain what coaching is.
Yeah.
Because coaching is helping the other person, helping the client bring out their own brilliance.
Yeah.
And people are confused and they think of coaching and they think of a baseball coach, and baseball coach
Right.
is
Or a
going to
swim coach or a core coach, which you've done that too. Yeah.
exactly like I don't like I want somebody to tell me how to live my life, or I don't want somebody to tell me how to live my life. Well, a coach, like a professional coach, is never going to do that. So it's just like I forget your original question now, but
You're
it's
all
to
good.
bring out our own brilliance. We already have all the answers.
Mhm.
So just be it's recognizing that we already have the answers, and then being brave enough
Mhm.
to listen to them and to
Yeah.
follow them, because we're not here to do the thing everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
We're here to do it completely differently. And we
Yeah.
have been taught to, not make big waves, like hush, try and fit in. So try and do it just like everyone else, try and look like everyone else, try and like all of that. So it's so scary to be like, that's not for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so good. And I love talking to other coaches about coaching and like the idea that when I learned in coaching school that like the idea is that no one has all the answers, but you have all the answers, like to me, that also made coaching like not like it's easy, but like coaching is the job in my whole story that feels like the easiest and the most fun. I'm like, oh, we're just gonna talk. Like, that's
Yes.
it. And I remember when I learned, like, the tools you learn in the curriculum,
Mhm.
whenever you feel like you need to fix something for your client, you can be like, oh, wait a minute. I'm not gonna do that. Like, I literally don't have the answer. And you step back and you're like, cool, like I'm gonna help you and navigate through that. But just the real surrender of like, I literally do not know, but I'm here with you. Like I don't know why I can't drive, but I love to use car metaphors for my coaching, like being on the road together. And when like we admit we're in that scary place of like next, I'm like, I am never gonna drive this car, but I am not getting out of this like ditch or side of the road or whatever until like I'm driving with you. And I don't get into cars with people I don't trust. So if we're here, I trust that you can figure it out. And if you can't, like we can call AAA, we can see if it's a therapy thing, we can do all these things, but like I'm never gonna drive the car because I can't drive, which people find funny. So that's my little shtick. But I
Well, you're
literally
a New
can't
Yorker. It
I
makes
can't
sense.
do it. I really cannot do it. And I think I had a question and now it's like gone because I'm just so like, and you're like so in a conversation, you're like, but I
Mhm.
had such a good question and now it's totally gone. I'm such a good listener that I can't hold on to the things I want to say. Um, I mean, yeah, it'll come up. I think the thing I'm thinking about too, though, is like with everything we're talking about, having all the answers, like really all of this stuff that is so what we clearly believe and it's so helpful to our lives. What do you like? How do you handle like coming up against people who are skeptical of all of these things? And like just that, like there are people
Mhm.
who are like, what is this? What are they talking about? What is this like thing?
So, okay, I have two places to take this. The first is so in 2016, we sold our house in Maine and we traveled around the country in a camper
Yeah.
for 16 months. And one day I met this woman in a campground. I'd just come back from a run and she was like, "Oh, what were you doing?" I was like, "Running." "Why?" I was like, "Well, I'm a triathlete." "Why?" "I love it. It's so fun." And she's like, "Oh, it's running is horrible for your knees." And like went off on a tangent. And I was like, "What do you do for work?" And I was like, "I'm a life coach." She's like, like I don't believe in that. That's a bunch of hooey. And I just had such a hard time not laughing because she was so clearly showing me that she wasn't my person.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let me tell you about human design. When I first learned human design and first learned how to read charts, I gave 100 or more free readings, free mini readings, partly because I had read my chart and been like, whoa, this is life-changing. Everything resonates so deeply for me. It's giving me so much permission to do life the way that I've always really, truly craved to do it. But
Mhm.
again, like didn't know if I was allowed to do that. And so I gave readings to people of all ages, all genders, all different places in life, all different careers. And every single one of them was like, holy moly, this just changed my life. And these are people that were like super Christian people, like people of all different spirituality places. Some people that were like total, like hands down, there's nothing else out there that's so woo woo. I'm not into it. And everyone was like, wow,
Yeah.
okay, wait. So I can do it this way. And so
Mhm.
what I tell people is, well, human design is supposedly a science that involves a bunch of things called neutrinos. You don't need to know that. The thing is, and it's like the 64 codons of DNA because there's 64 gates in human design. The
Yeah.
thing that you need to know is if it changes your life, let's use it.
Yeah.
We don't need to prove it. So you
Yeah.
don't need to believe in it.
Literally. And
You just
also,
need to try it on.
yeah. And also, like you say, like with your coaching, like, all the things you use as a coach, like it is a science. And also, like the way you use that word, I feel like people like can trust even more because like you've been a scientist, like you are a
Mhm.
scientist. So I think that with all of these things, I feel like it's really helpful to know, like with human design, with astrology, with these things that people like, you know, choose to believe in and not to believe in, like there is a groundwork there and you're not like shoving it down anybody's throat, but at the same time, like it's this very legitimate thing. And I feel like that is so missing from conversations about things that are like a little woo woo and all of that. And like I definitely get shy about like talking about things that I believe in and all of that. But then I think about like religion and I'm like, no one is, I mean, some people are, but like, no one's coming after you for believing all these stories in this book because you
Mhm.
like it and it's comforting to you and that's okay. And then like, I think that's just an interesting thing to like think about in terms of skepticism. And it really
Yeah,
also, I feel like it also just comes down, and this whole thing too comes a lot down to like not letting what people think of you influence you because we start off with like human design, right? Knowing everything. And then people tell us how to be, which is often so inauthentic to who we actually are. And then to me, authenticity is like a returning to ourselves.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. It's remembering who you are
Yeah.
and then being brave enough to be that person.
Exactly.
That is, okay, that's the definition of authenticity.
I love it.
Remembering who you are and being brave enough to come back to really truly living
Yes.
the way you're designed to live.
Remembering who you are and going back to being that person. I love that. I love that so much. I also want to go back to like the triathlon and like the competitive sport because I feel like first of all it's so impressive. Like I am never gonna be a runner. I am like I run when I'm being chased, and I'm
You
like good.
could.
I'm great at running for the subway, so I'm like I sometimes think like I could be a runner. Like I clearly have the stamina, but I'm just like not for me. Um, but I think it's so interesting to have the background of being a sports and athletic coach and then being like a life coach. And so I'm wondering if there's anything you've learned from being competitive triathlon that you still apply, like of course in your life, but also like in your coaching outside the sport. 'Cause I feel like there's so many of us, like me included, coming around on sports and learning like the psychology of it. Like I love Glennon Doyle and her wife Abby Wambach talks a lot about like, the science behind winning and losing and like mental toughness and like, you don't have to sit and watch the sport for like 4 hours to like understand like the mental game of these things.
I have so much to say on this topic.
Love it.
I don't even know where to begin. I learned everything through training.
Mm.
Okay, so
Would you say that like training is a big part of your earth school?
yes.
I love that.
Yes, absolutely. And I had an astrologer tell me once I have so much air in my chart and like zero earth, I think, that she was
Mm.
like, no wonder you love training so much. It's what grounds you.
Mm.
Where, oh, good goodness. All right. Here, this is the first thing that I'm being called to share. Self-sabotage. So here's
Mm.
how I believe it works out. Especially in the world of like social media and just knowing what other people are up to.
Yeah.
We can see that somebody else is struggling and feel like, oh, maybe it's my turn to struggle again. This is how it works out. The self-sabotage van, it's this white windowless van. And it'll sneak up on you and it'll like be like, hey, little girl, you want some candy? And if you are not paying attention and not being like, absolutely not, I see you, I've seen you around the neighborhood, and I am so not touching your candy. If you're not like on top of it, you'll get in the van and then catch yourself like, I don't know what happened. I guess I just had a bad day. I guess, but the thoughts that are really going through your mind are like, oh, I have had so many great workouts in a row. It's okay to not have a great one today. It's okay to not have a great day. But what I've needed to work on is it's okay to have a great day every single day. It's okay to be super sparkly. It's okay for everything to be fantastic. It's okay to prioritize my joy. It's okay to like keep doing the work and keep getting better and better. It's okay to like to get better than other people, to get faster. But also it's not a better than things. For me, competition, it's striving together. It is racing with someone. I have such great friendships from racing. It's like you're playing leapfrog. And somebody, like, especially on the run, someone will go fast and pass you. And there's a moment of like, oh crap, this is no, like, I don't want to go faster, but like, I'm going to chase them. And then I pass them and then they pass me. And then we get to the finish line and we're like crying and hugging each other because we both just went so much faster than either of us knew was possible.
I think it's that part too. Like you kind of get to prove yourself like breaking through these limitations over and over in sport in this way of like breaking past what your body thinks you can do and like mind over like struggle and all of that. I
Mm-hmm.
love that. And just like, your joy and excitement is so infectious from like your writing and now being here with you. And I hope everyone else can feel it. But like the idea that it's a active like thing is such a core thing for me. Like the idea that we have to like it can be an effortless thing and it can come to us once we've worked on it, but like the idea of like hard won happiness, like it's a muscle. Like we have to like have our tools and our medications and our this and like there's a certain mental toughness there.
Absolutely. I mean, all right, my workout today, I had a swim workout. I'm tired. Like my legs are really tired from training this weekend. My warm up, I was looking for like ways I could adapt the workout. Can I make this easier? And then I had like one set. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling better. Another set, oh, I get to take this easy. Let's just take this like real easy. The next set was supposed to be strong, and I'm like, oh, well, let's see what happens. And I was such a rock star. Like, I don't know where that came from, but because I took each bit as a brand new moment, like I didn't try and write the story based on my first few hundred meters. I was just
Ooh,
like, this is where I am right now. Okay, I'm curious. I just follow my curiosity. Let's see what happens next. And every time I do that, which is now a practice, things just get better and better.
I didn't try to write the story based on my first like 100 meters. Like as a writer, that's hitting me. As a person that loves to like script her life ahead, that's hitting me. And just like the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so good. I don't know what it was in there, but I remember something I did want to ask about too with social media and like comparison there. I know that you like broke up social media and then also had ended your podcast or different decisions. So talk to me about those departures and like what that means to you.
So the podcast one is easy. It's simply the last year, it wasn't lighting me up.
Yeah.
It was like my husband was doing the editing. I'd feel bad asking him to edit.
Mm,
I was getting a lot of pitches from people. It just didn't feel good. It was the prime podcasting years for me were like, I guess the first three when I had like all my friends on, had these beautiful conversations, and then I was making so many friends through podcasting, and I'd like meet on their podcast, and then I'd be like, you gotta come on my podcast. If I
yeah.
still have my podcast right now, I'd be like, Alexa, we're gonna be something amazing on my podcast.
Oh,
And then it just became a like, oh, okay, I need to make another episode.
yeah.
Okay, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
So it took me, I was working with a business coach at the time who kept telling me, you're not on social media, you need to keep doing the podcast.
Hmm.
D- I know better than to have done it. I should have just been like, it's not lighting me up. So it's time to change.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, I call it level threeing it because we have the seven in IPAC, we learned the seven energy levels of energy leadership. And level three is tolerating something.
Yeah.
Fine, I can keep going. So I did that for like a year and then was finally like, you know what? I've tried on all these different ways. I tried doing like having one person on consistently. I tried just doing solo episodes and I was just like, it's just not really fun right now.
Yeah.
So that's when I gave myself permission to, I say it's on a long nap. It might it might not be gone forever, but
Right.
until I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to share these things with the world through my mouth hole. And I want to like, and I have all these ideas. It's just going to continue napping.
Yeah.
Social media was a different experience.
Hmm.
So I didn't plan to go off when I went off.
Okay.
I actually just had a really negative troll experience and was like, I'm going to take 2 weeks off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And after those 2 weeks, I was like, that's not real. That's not the real world. Wait, this is funny. People talk about social media like it matters, but it doesn't matter. You're not actually connecting with those people. And I
Mhm.
never wanted to go back. So, in terms of a business decision, it was not the best. I was just like out. It
Yeah. Yeah.
wasn't like, okay, people, please sign up for my newsletter list because I'm not going to be on social media anymore. It's just,
Mhm.
I'm out of here.
Yeah. And yet you have built an incredible community on Substack and
Hmm.
like leaned in over there.
Yeah, then Substack was okay, so another business secret to spill.
Oh,
So I hired my business was like slumping. And I hired a company. They were like, we'll do your marketing for you. Like, what are your marketing like plans? And I was like, none.
yeah.
I
It's
don't,
like to market myself.
yeah, I don't know. I do things and maybe people hear about me.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, you need to do like really target marketing. Like she was like, I'll write your emails. Like our company will write your emails. And I was really
Mhm.
hesitant about this because that was the thing I loved doing. But I'm like, okay. Like I forgot I was a writer. I forgot that I was an award-winning science writer. I forgot that I'd had that like very successful career as a writer. And I'm like, okay, I guess you guys write my emails for me.
It-
So I tried this for like a year
uh,
or just under. Before I was like, this is not working. And this is part of my human design. I love my people so much. So I didn't want to break up with them. I
mm,
would say like 6 months longer than I should have because I didn't want to break up with them. And then I finally did. But before I did, I was like, I have words that need to come out. And I
Mm,
used to, just for the record, like they would, I also wasn't doing it right. They were sending me emails to send out and I was changing them. But the back to the people pleasing of like my federal government job, I like wasn't changing it enough. Because
mm,
I didn't, I was like, I paid for somebody else to write this, so it doesn't make sense for me to totally rewrite it, which is what I wanted to do.
yeah,
And I look back at some of those things and I'm like, that doesn't even say anything. Like it just became such gobbledygook.
yeah,
Ugh.
yeah,
But anyway, I was like, I need to write. So apparently I'm starting a Substack. And
yeah.
all I knew about Substack at the time was a few of the people whose email list I was on had switched to Substack. And I at first was like, why would people pay for emails?
Hmm.
I was like, this is so stupid. This is never gonna work. And then I'm like, apparently I'm starting a Substack. And I started the next day, had no idea what I was doing, and here we are.
Here we are. Yeah, I love that question. Why pay for emails? I hadn't thought of it quite like that. It's funny because I wrote an essay on why I have paid subscriptions, and it's my most viewed essay, which is so
Hmm.
weird. Like, very much just like, here's why I do it. Like, because I'm writing and it's just labor, and like, you can pay me for it or you can't. That's the access. And it's just so interesting. Different people talk about it on there, and like, I love Substack. I think it's the kindest corner of the internet, honestly. I've met some of the, like, case in point, wonderful people on there.
Exactly. Also met a bunch of coaches that like
And
we're all here from this same perspective of I don't want to play the game that they've been telling us we have to play.
yeah.
I don't want to talk about people's pain. I don't want to have a like funnel. I
Mm,
don't want to I don't want to manipulate anyone.
mm,
I don't like all of that icky stuff that I never did, but I was told to do. No, this is me this year, no matter how my business does. I know I've been doing it in alignment.
mm.
So it's gonna feel good. As opposed to last year, my business didn't do well and I was out of alignment. I was letting other people do my emails.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that whole thing felt horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. The prioritization of like, it can feel good and look the way it looks, but like, the feeling is what's mattering more to you.
And the authenticity.
Yeah.
So, do we have time? Can I talk a little bit about the new paradigm?
Sure. I
Okay,
love it. Yes.
we're going very woo. So, the year is 2024 right now. Human
Okay.
design says that we go into a new paradigm in 2027.
Okay.
I can tell you so many things about this paradigm, but let me just point out. So we've been in this current paradigm since I think like 1685, I want to say.
Oh,
This
wow.
paradigm has been it's about like nation building, right? So like we've built countries, we've built things like the UN, it's been building systems, which has included systems of oppression and like,
Mhm,
there's been a lot of like runging and hierarchies, and this is the way you need to do it and play within the system and belong and
mhm,
tribalism and that sort of thing.
mhm.
This new paradigm is all about authenticity. And
Oh,
if you're not being authentic, it's not going to fly. Your message isn't going to get through.
I like that. At this
So it's
specific moment, I really like hearing that. Yeah.
so if there's any point, any part of your life that you're trying to play a game,
Hmm.
stop now. Because
Yeah.
by the time we're fully in the new paradigm, it's really not going to work for you.
Yeah. And I think just like that is so indicative on a larger scale of what I think on a smaller scale. Like, anything that you have by being authentic was not yours to begin with.
Hmm.
And that's the thing about like what I do and helping people create lives that feel as good as they look. Like, a lot of people have lives that look great out there, but like, you can't lie to yourself. Like, you can for your whole life and be miserable, but like, you know you're miserable. And like that, you can only keep it up for so long, I feel. Uh,
Yeah.
I could talk to you all day long. I'm so grateful for this time and your friendship, this connection. On that note of like moving into this new paradigm, new age, how are you hoping to cultivate more authenticity this year, before this paradigm? And what are some ways that you already have cultivated it this year?
So it's every day I'm guided to like
Yeah.
a new thing that I'm like, oh, that's that gift. That's how I get to use it. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Like I'm no longer, I mean, maybe I'm being way too cocky in saying this, but I'm no longer playing with like the stuff that I'm doing that's out of alignment. Really, it's more now oh, I can dive deeper into that. I can own that deeper. I can, I can really like really truly own and just like fully put on that gift to a new level.
Yeah, I'm so curious. What are you diving deeper into? Like, what are some of those gifts that are coming up?
So I recently gave myself a career and purpose reading.
Ooh,
My life's work, like we talked about, is to be super intuitive. And one of the things that made me think is, oh, more energy updates, perhaps. Those I can't plan ahead. It's just something comes through me, share it. Okay, so then there's bits like what I'm here to do is I'm really here to help people start things.
hmm.
So how can I lean into that more? Like, and I
Yeah,
do this with my clients for sure. Like, you want to start something? I'm your girl. You want to like finish something? Nah. But if it's finishing something and comes to starting things,
yeah, yeah.
I'm totally here for it.
Right, right.
Um, what else? Then, and I'm at my sparkliest when I'm helping people
Yeah,
start things.
yeah.
Then there's um my purpose. My purpose is to basically get better and better at things.
Mhm.
Like, this is why I love training. This
Yeah,
is why, like, because I just love getting better and better and better.
yeah.
So I don't have to beat myself up over, like, why aren't you, I don't know, writing that thing right now? No, just go train.
Mm, mm. I love that. I love that.
So it's a
So,
constant exploration for me.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
And
then
commit.
there's this other gift that I didn't share just now because I'm like, how do I talk about this? It's like the gift of the shaman
Hmm.
and helping people create quantum leaps in their lives.
Oh,
So that's like such an exploration of like, okay, I hear it, I get it, but also do I get like, does my body understand it? Do I truly
uh,
get what that means? No.
uh, oh, we're gonna wrap this up, but I'm gonna ask you more about that later because I'm obsessed with quantum leaps right now. So I'm gonna need to hear what you're learning about that. But my last question, which is not in the doc, kind of a more surprise one from a guided journal that I made. I like to ask people what their authenticity accessories are. So, like, let's say they're making the Kelsey Abbott figurine, doll, American Girl, like limited edition. What are the accessories that have to come with her?
A bike
Okay.
and a bathing suit, a cap and goggles, and running shoes,
Love it.
and dogs.
Love
She
it.
has dogs. Probably lots of animals, actually, like all the animals.
Okay.
She's gonna need like a hawk and some deer.
Love it. I love it. It's a deluxe pack. It's a big box.
Oh, yeah, this is a big one. There's actually it doesn't fit in a box. I'm
Oh,
not here
great.
for boxes.
Oh, great. No. So it's like a you have to like, yeah, it's a different assembly. They'll work on that.
Yeah, they're just gonna keep being more pieces will be added
I
every day.
love it. I love it.
What's your answer to this question? I love this question.
Thank you. It changes a lot. I often
Mhm.
say cozy things. Like I'm a cozy girl and my blankets, my pillows, probably a candle. I usually say tea, but I feel like right now, like maybe a probiotic soda, like an Olipop or something. Probably like a really good podcast. Love a good podcast. Yeah, I feel like that's pretty much what she wants. Maybe like the Gilmore Girl box set DVD. I think that's important for
There
her.
we go. There
Very
would also be like a big fruit basket.
love it. I love it. I feel like my if I had to have a food, it would be like white cheddar popcorn, which is my favorite.
Oh, I loved that as a kid. I burnt myself out on it. I could
Honestly, I
not go near that now.
delicious. It is my favorite thing. Like the more powdery, the better. It's so yummy.
Oh, I love it.
So good. Oh, thank you so much for being here. And I'm
Thank
just
you for having me, Alexa. You are fantastic. I'm so, so happy to know you.
you. Ah, likewise. I just feel like when you meet someone with energy clicks like this and manifesting generators, it all just feels so good.
Hmm.
Yeah. No.
Absolutely.